Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt, and this is Team Chicago Challenge. And I'm Dan Schmitt. I'm the producer of a weekly TV show called Team Chicago Challenge. Yes, I'm doing two openings. I'm doing one opening for two different venues. Last year, first of all, I'm going to make this my Christmas message to my motorcycle audience, people that watch Team Chicago Challenge every week. This is also my message to my audience on YouTube. Now, last year, I did a Christmas message, and I talked about Jesus Christ. And I only played that on YouTube. And my story about Jesus Christ is they portray Jesus Christ as some weak hippie wandering about Palestine, wandering about Jerusalem, preaching Marxism. You know, that's all a lie. Jesus Christ was a businessman. Jesus Christ was a tough guy. That's why they had to scourge him before they crucified him. So Jesus Christ did never preach socialism, Marxism, communism, and this is one of my big disagreements with the new Pope. So, this is my message for my audience about what is the right and what is the left. Just the other day, it hit me in the head. What is a good example to show what is the right and what is the left? Now, as I'm speaking, I'm going to show you on the front of my screen two links on YouTube where you can look at my original. What is the left? What is the right? So, I got a board up here. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. But right now, the key that I'm going to talk about is the other day I'm listening to public radio. And public radio, I do listen to the enemy, and public radio is as far left, generally, 99% of the time as far left as you can almost go without falling off the equator or falling off the edge of the earth. But every once in a while they play a show that inspires me. Now, I don't know how many of you people know who Alan Dershowitz is. Alan Dershowitz is on Fox News. I guess he's on another station, Max. And the other day he was saying, well, we have to be afraid of the extreme right like we have to be afraid of the extreme left, because he calls himself a liberal Democrat. And that's a good term. He is a liberal. He's not the extreme left. We don't have to worry about liberalism. We have to worry about the left. The left is the enemy. And even when you take Rush Limbaugh or Laura Ingraham or Sean Hannity, none of them really ever explain left and right. They're still stuck with that New York Times fake news, what was created probably back in the 30s, maybe in the 20s, when Mussolini was raised into power, where they called that the right. The one reason I did what is the right, what is the left, my brother Bob said to me, am I some kind of a Nazi because I believe in the right? The Nazis are as far to the left as you could be. They're leftists also. Big government is leftism. Freedom is the right. And now I have a perfect example to show you what is the left, what is the right. And I'm so happy that this has come to me, and I'm going to show you some clips. But remember, go to my what is the right, what is the left, and that will explain many things. Because the extreme left is not evil, totally evil. I look at the extreme left as a communion where nobody owns everything. Everybody gets along. But like one of our founding fathers said, if men were angels, we wouldn't need government. So nuns and monks, people that are dedicated to Jesus Christ, pray all day, don't care if they own anything, that would be the extreme left. And there's nothing wrong with it. If everybody wanted to, like they tried to do back in the late 60s, 1960s with these communes, where the communes all worked great until certain people started sleeping with other people's wives. Then it sort of broke down. Now you might say, well, what about the Amish? Well, the Amish, on the other hand, is the extreme right. They want nothing to do with government. They are on their own. I talked to one Amish guy, he's got 40 acres, and he's got a family of, I think he said 9 kids, and 40 acres he can support himself. and the community works together, but they believe in ownership. They believe in property rights. They believe in, you own so many horses, you own this field, you own your production of your work. So Amish, I would consider, would be the extreme right. Just like a farmer who could get off the grid tomorrow if he wanted and could support his family. That is what the right is. The right is freedom. Professor Dershowitz, the extreme right is freedom. That's why I'm going to send copies of every one of these 3 shows on one DVD. I'm going to start sending them to everybody because I finally have found a perfect example of what is the right and what is the left and what the extreme right is. Okay, so let me talk about what I'm going to show you in video or film. When I was at Lady of Mercy School, back in 1956, I would have been 7 years old. I would have been in 2nd grade. The janitor at Our Lady of Mercy School was Bob Ostrovich's uncle. When they brought in a new helper, a janitor, came from Hungary. In Hungary in 1956, when Stalin died, they wanted a little more freedom. So I'm going to show you right now film from 1956, and there's 20 or 30,000 people in the street. Those people protesting, those people wanting their freedom. That is the extreme right. The right is freedom. They wanted to be like America, you know, where we have prosperity, where we have the right to ownership. Under communism, you don't have no ownership. I look at the movie Dr. Zhivago. When people started moving into the rich people's home, they said, well, you don't own this, it belongs to the state. So Hungary's a perfect example, Professor Dershowitz, for what is the extreme right. And you're seeing this film right now, these people in the street. And then what happened? The Soviets came in and crushed them with tanks, street to street fighting until they took over, ended it. Now let's go to 1968. 1968. I'm just out of high school. I'm Coffee Dan. Life is great. The hippie movement, peace, love, the American way. You know, let's get out. Let's peace. You know, let's fight for peace. So the Czechoslovakians said, well, this is the perfect time. We can believe in freedom. You're going to see in this film now thousands and thousands of people marching, handing out leaflets, taking over military vehicles that belonged to the Czechoslovakians were now with the people. New government, new leadership. Eventually, the Russians, the Soviet Union, crushed them. They called in Warsaw Pact. Troops from Poland, troops from other Warsaw Pact countries, and the Russians came in and stomped that out. So I'm listening to PBS the other day, and I showed that film. And they do a show about Hong Kong. And they're talking to the 23-year-olds. People that were born in 1997. In 1997, Hong Kong was a British colony. It had a 99-year lease. In 1997, the lease was over with any Chinese government, and the English turned Hong Kong back over to China. The Chinese stated that there would be a 50-year plan where they would slowly but start integrating Hong Kong into the regular Chinese way of life. Communism. Solid party. The party rules everything. So these young 23-year-olds, they don't want to lose their freedom. So what are they doing? They're in the street marching. You will see in the video I'm showing you right now of people protesting in Hong Kong. And the new leadership in Hong Kong are communists. There is no Hong Kong free election government. So, as you will see in this film, in this video clip, these people are protesting, and you know, there is a little disruption because they're getting tired of protesting. What created this latest protest is now the communists from the mainland, if you violate a law, because they control everything, even if you think they control everything. So they want to take people back to the mainland to go to trial. And that's what created this big protest now. So, Professor Dershowitz, the extreme right is freedom. I am going to make copies, DVDs with all three of these shows. My first show, What is the Right, What is the Left? My second show, What is the Right, What is the Left? A deeper look. Those are up on YouTube. And this show here, where I have examples of real people, which represents the extreme right. Freedom is the extreme right. Less government. So let me, I got to add a couple of things. I took a couple notes. And let's go back to Barry Goldwater. How many people remember Barry Goldwater? So his statement when he was nominated the Republican candidate, 1964, to take on Lyndon Johnson. He was a Republican candidate. His nominating speech, he said, "Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. Moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue." So being extreme to protect rights, God-given rights, that's what makes America great. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That's what makes America great, the free enterprise system, where an average goof like me, an average guy, can accumulate wealth beyond anything I ever dreamt of when I graduated from high school, when I was Coffee Dan. Anybody that's willing to work, to get up and work every day, stay off drugs, marry someone great, have kids, you will succeed in America. You can't be doing drugs. You can't be doing gambling your money away. You have to be a responsible person. But if you follow the golden rule, you will be successful in America. So my other statement, I've got to tell you this. I'm talking to Brother Tom. Now, Brother Tom's a Christian brother that I'm friends of from St. George High School. And I called Donald Trump. And now that I looked it up a little bit deeper, because there was a movie called The Man for All Seasons about St. Thomas More, or Sir Thomas More. And the reason I bring up The Man for All Seasons, because Donald Trump is the right man at this moment. Now let's talk about St. Thomas More, or Sir Thomas More. He was a chancellor to the king. He was friends with Henry VIII. But he opposed Henry VIII's divorce from Catherine because he did not have a boy child, and he was going to marry Anne Bowles, I think her name was. But Thomas More ended up being executed, off with the head, on July 6th, 1535, because he would not give in to the demands of Henry VIII, who was previously his friend. And the statement about Thomas More is he was a man of principle, and he was a man of conscience. Donald Trump, since he has been elected, has been more conservative, has followed the rule of law, maybe greater than any president. He has kept his promise to the Republicans. He has kept his promise to the conservatives. He's only nominated very conservative justices from a list that he presented before. He has been executive orders. He hasn't tried to pass any laws. He has been true to what he has said. So when people accuse him of being a liar, in fact, I feel sorry for people that read the New York Times. My cousin depends on the New York Times. I'm sure my brother Bob and Mike and my brother-in-law are so Trump derangement syndrome, this sickness. Why would anybody think Donald Trump is in the pocket of Putin? I mean, they throw this at me. It's like, are you guys insane? This guy is a capitalist. This guy is a hard-working guy. So that's the other reason I'm bringing this information to my motorcycle people. You have to understand, the motorcycle represents, of all vehicles, except maybe airplanes. Airplanes may represent a little more freedom of transport, but you are more regulated in an airplane. So maybe it's not as free as a motorcycle, but motorcycles represent freedom. The freedom to go, especially dirt bikes, where you can just take off and go anywhere. That's the beauty of motorcycles. So if you're a motorcyclist, you have to protect everybody's rights, whether it's gun ownership, whether it's gun ownership, whether it's your right to own property, your right. I mean, these are things that the Democratic candidates are trying to take away from us. The automobile represents freedom. So if you own a car, if you love your car, under the Green New Deal, you know, Bug-Eyes Cortez, gasoline's going to disappear. Well, what does that mean? That means you won't be able to drive. So let's get into some of these Democratic candidates. What is the right? What is the left? That's why I have the board up here. And we'll end it at that. I see it looks like I got about 8 more minutes of this clip. Believe me, I am so lucky that I have been able to do this TV show. So this here is now show number 1480. I've been doing this TV show now going on 35 years. Team Chicago Challenge. If you go to YouTube and search with Dan Schmitt motorcycle racing, there's other clips of great motorcycle racing action. If you go to YouTube and put in Dan Schmitt politics, then you will find some of my great clips I put up there. How does business work? How does insurance work? I mean, things that they do not teach in school. And this is my challenge to all the teachers out there. You have to reject socialism, communism, Marxism. All these, they're on strike in Chicago, and they're walking around with Marxist symbols. Now you tell me about that labor union. So yeah, let's go through a couple of these candidates, and I'll show you how insane they are. But first of all, here's the center. Now this time I'm not putting anybody in the center. Where am I? Dan? I'm here. I'm not totally free, but I'm pretty far to the right. Ronald Reagan? Trump? We're all on the right. We believe in freedom. I could tell stories about Ronald Reagan, and I didn't know Ronald Reagan personally, but I feel I do. He was the greatest president of the 20th century. And Donald Trump, he is saving America, believe me. Every day he's in office. All right, Rush. Well, Rush is it. I'm putting Rush here because he does depend on the federal government, because you couldn't have a radio station, you couldn't have a radio show unless the government regulated radio. So that's where Rush is not quite as extreme. I'm on public access, I'm on YouTube. There's really little federal regulations controlling public access. So, where does Biden fall? I mean, Biden, 1 minute he's up, 1 minute he's down. And he's supposed to be the moderate. Well, this is the left, right? Biden, because he believes in Obamacare, is as far to the left. Now where we put Marx, Karl Marx, to the left. Hitler, to To the left, big government. Mussolini, same thing. So let's talk about Barack Obama. I mean, they're trying to portray him as the conservative. He wouldn't be nominated. Barack Obama is as far left as anybody. He's been good at lying about where he is, but he's as far left as anybody. So Obama, right there. Michelle, she might even be worse. Far to the left. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, her and Bernie. I mean, they want, all right, let me explain something about Medicare, because I have Medicare. We've been paying 2% of our income since 1964. So probably about 1966 or so, I started paying 2% of my income to Medicare. Now take someone like Donald Trump, making millions. I mean, they keep saying they want to see his tax return. He's been paying millions and millions. He's been taking a salary. He's probably paid in millions just into his Medicare fund that he'll never use. And the millionaires and the billionaires that are paying in is what covers the people that only made $18,000 or $7,000 or now are making minimum wage. Medicare is for seniors. You start making it for everybody, there will be no health care. There will be no doctors. This will come crashing down like Venezuela. So Elizabeth Warren with her wealth tax, Bernie Sanders, the right to... No, if the government takes over your health care totally, then they're going to start telling you how to live. They're going to tell you, well, you can't own motorcycles, that's dangerous. You shouldn't even own a car, that's dangerous. You should take a bus or ride your bicycle. And then we could look like China. We could look like Indonesia. We could look like third world countries. Sorry, these people are way out there. Then you got Andrew Yang. He's as far left. He wants to give everybody a thing. Where's this money coming from? Is he just a whack job? Wow. And then you got Hillary Clinton. Where was she? Right here. All on the left. And they want to take your freedom away to force you into the left. Cortez, Green New Deal. Let me say something about the Green New Deal. One of their principles is we're going to retrofit every house in America to make it more economically better for heating and cooling and all that. That's the ploy to take away property rights. My house, to redo it would be to make it totally sufficient as far as heat and cooling, be $100,000 or $200,000. And then the government's going to be telling you that you have to do it or they'll buy the house from you. They'll use eminent domain. And then they'll take away your freedom. They'll take away your equity. Evil people, Bug-Eye Cortez and that babushka gal that she hangs out with. No, believe me, they are all Nancy Pelosi. All right, the one guy I forgot was Buttigieg. Buddha, I call him, or Buddha Fruta, if you wish. Now he's playing the Obama card. And I think Patrick, he's going to play the Obama card. In other words, be nice and smooth. We're not going to talk about how extreme left we are. I mean, Buddha, Dad, the Marxist teaching at University of Notre Dame, which is another insult to the Catholic Church, Notre Dame, or even DePaul in Chicago. Terrible universities. Bloomberg, let me stick with Buddha for a second. He won't tell you how extreme he is. He'll act like the moderate. Patrick, the governor from Massachusetts, he'll act like a moderate. But deep down inside, They're right here. Buddha. Extreme. Obama, extreme. Nancy Pelosi, like Buddha, these pious Catholics praying for the president. These Catholics that should be excommunicated because of their stance on abortion. The Democratic Party. In fact, I made a remark the other day. I'm having a little discussion with a couple of friends. And he said, what's the biggest cause of death in America? And I said, abortion. And they freaked. So let me tell you this. These people that say that they believe in abortion all the way into the 4th trimester, like in Illinois, these so-called pious people telling us to be pious, well, they're the worst offenders, believe me. So I guess I'm getting my signal. We're running out of time for my TV show, which is 29.5 minutes long, 28.5 minutes long. And this is going up on YouTube. This is my Christmas present to everybody out there. And I will have copy. You want a copy of the 3 shows on a DVD, and I'll even sign the case? teamdan45@gmail.com. Send me an email, and I'll tell you how you can send me some postage to cover it. But Merry Christmas to all. Remember, Jesus Christ, love. Love was the key of Christianity. And Donald Trump, more than any of these other candidates, really does show his love for the American people by putting people back to work, by putting people in good positions. Great president. We are fortunate to have someone like Donald Trump as the President of the United States. God bless you. Merry Christmas. And thanks for tuning in. And thanks for watching.